Well, obviously, the most pressing and urgent matter from the U.S. perspective is getting those U.S. citizens that are left in the country out of Afghanistan, as well as those permanent U.S. residents and the Afghans at risk that worked with the United States and that they've been trying to get out. So that will be the very concrete issue that will be discussed during those 2 days. But there are other important topics that the Americans, at least, say they want to talk about with the Taliban. One is the humanitarian and economic situation. There is a crisis growing in Afghanistan, and the Americans want to make sure, they said, that humanitarian aid can continue to flow in the country to help the Afghan people. They also said that they would be pressing the Taliban to uphold its commitment to respecting human rights, especially the rights of women and girls, because that we've seen reports coming out of Afghanistan and images of how women and girls were treated, especially the fact that they've been blocked, for example, from returning to work or blocked from going to school. So that will be a key issue also that the Americans will raise. And finally, there is, of course, the issue of terrorism. The U.S. very interested and very focused on getting the Taliban on board to prevent Afghanistan from becoming once again a hotbed for any terrorist group. So Americans going in there with a big delegation, representatives from the State Department, from the intelligence community, and from USAID, the development agency here in the United States.
Meanwhile, Ketavan, the US continuing to insist that these talks are not about recognizing the Taliban as Afghanistan's legitimate rulers.
Yes, a senior State Department official made that very clear. He said this is not about granting recognition or conferring legitimacy. We remain clear that any legitimacy must be earned through the Taliban's own actions. That's the message that the Americans have had for several months now, that they will only believe what they see as actions from the Taliban, not believe the words of the Taliban. So they're still being very careful. They really want to make clear that this is not a recognition. This is simply continuing the sort of business that they've been having with the Taliban throughout these past few months, which is negotiating with the Taliban where U.S. interests are at stake. That's what they're going to keep doing. And this is really a balance that most Western countries are trying to strike. How to engage with the Taliban to get them to do what the West wants and to provide the evacuations and the support that they need for counterterrorism, while at the same time not granting the Taliban that recognition that it so wants.